Speed Channel presents the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. Today, live from the Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. It's final practice for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. Tomorrow, 188 laps for 43 cars here, a 500-mile race. And today, the final 45 minutes of practice. The team's back in the garage getting ready to roll out for final practice. There was a practice here earlier today, 45 minutes on this 2.66-mile track, and this was just a little over an hour ago. Jamie McMurray in trouble in traffic.
42 car goes in turns 3, runs up on some other cars, has to back out of the gas. When he does, car spins, and very luckily, he's the only car involved.
A couple of cars narrowly missing the 42 of Jamie McMurray, but that was the only on-track incident in the first practice session. McMurray back in his car, tightening up the net, getting ready to send the 42 car and his 42 competitors out on the track for the final 45 minutes of practice. Hi, everybody. Bill Weber along with Wally Dellenbach and Benny Parsons. Welcome to Talladega. If you've never seen a restrictor plate race at this track, you're going to see one for 500 miles tomorrow. But today, you get a free sample.
And that's exactly what these drivers and teams have to do to learn what their car is doing. They've got to go out and simulate a race. Normally in happy hour, we'd see the cars go out there by themselves, run 10 or 15 laps, come back in, tell the crew what it's doing, make adjustments. Here, it's breathtaking. It's side by side, 3-4 wide, because, Wally, that's how the race is going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, the drivers have to go in the middle, the bottom, the top line. They have to try all the different lines. They also have to try to get around different manufacturers of cars because their cars will handle differently around different makes of cars. So, yeah, you want to try all those things because you're going to get all that thrown at you tomorrow in the race.
Now, NASCAR will try and control the amount of cars in packs today, something they obviously can't do tomorrow. Some guys will run a lot of laps in this practice session. Some guys may not run any because they're already done. They want to save their stuff for Sunday.
I think most everybody needs to get out under these conditions when it's warmer than it was this morning, and try to simulate more what the conditions are going to be tomorrow afternoon.
Well, we're less than 10 minutes away from the final practice session before 500 miles of racing here at Talladega. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick getting ready to practice. Speed Channel live at the Talladega Superspeedway, where later today, ARCA REMAX Series racing on this 2.66-mile track. 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. The ARCA REMAX Series live today on Speed. Let's check into the garage area with Marty Snyder.
Well, Bill, one thing we will see in this final practice is we won't see some race teams like Kevin Harvick's race team. A lot of these teams decide not to run the final practice because it's hairy, as BP said. It's awfully dangerous a little bit to run these practices because it's just like a race. You can get in trouble very easily. Harvick's team has the car parked. They will not run it in this happy hour session. Very happy with the race car, Matt.
Jeff Gordon trying to equal a record Dale Earnhardt Sr. set back in 1990, winning 3 of the 4 restrictor plate races in a single season. Getting ready to back out. Now Jeff is going to go out and make one run. They're not exactly sure how many laps he's going to go out, run at the front, drop back in the middle, then drop back to the back, just to make sure they're exactly where they want to be with this 24 car that he tries to round out the restrictor plate season with a victory tomorrow afternoon, Bill.
Thank you, Matt. The car is getting lined up. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to put on the helmet, climb in the car, was 14th in the first practice session this morning, running 27 laps. He's got 4 wins here at Talladega, going for another one tomorrow. You want to meet some angry guys? Well, tune in tonight, 6:30, live on Speed. Pitbull, Steve Burns trying to control the chaos. These guys sort through the issues in NASCAR racing. Live from Talladega, Pitbull, 6:30 tonight right here on Speed. About 2 minutes away from Brendan Gaughan leading the field out onto the track. 2.66 miles here at Talladega for the final practice session. Benny?
I'm just shocked the 29 car would not practice in this session because it's going to be 10, 15 degrees warmer than it was an hour ago.
Want to save your stuff.
He must have a very nice feeling ride.
He must.
Okay.
Marty.
Let's get back to the garage, Marty.
Yeah, they described it to me as perfect, the 29 car I'm talking about of Kevin Harvick's. But Mark Martin kind of on the same plan as Jeff Gordon. They're going to go out and make one run. They're going to make their fuel mileage run right now. Very happy with the car. The plan is, if everything goes well, they're going to park it after that first run for Mark Martin. His teammate, Kurt Busch, they're going to try one change in this practice session, BP. They're going to try a different gear, trying to pull up to the pack a little bit better. Kurt did not like how he could catch other cars. They call it sucking up is what they call it here at these restrictor plate plate races, but very happy with the 97, save for that one problem. They're trying to fix that with a gear change on the 97 car.
What Marty does best around the NBC brass.
Suck up?
Sucking
Yeah,
up.
well, you know.
I don't.
Follow the
One
master.
thing, BP, I'm not sure. I don't ever remember this track changing a whole lot like Daytona does when it gets hot. This track seems like if it gets 10 or 15 degrees hotter, you don't slide around. Daytona's a handful so maybe that doesn't have a whole lot to do with it.
Okay.
Before these cars roll, we want to send out a big hello to our buddy Alan Bestwick on the disabled list this weekend, not with us. After fracturing 2 bones in his leg while playing hockey last week, Alan, an avid hockey player, and obviously got caught up in what must have been a very hard check. So, Alan, watching today, we're sure. Hope your recovery is going well, and we look forward to having you back at the track really
That's just
soon.
the 10-day disabled list, right?
Yes. We expect him back, pronto. Now they're starting a bump draft right there on pit road, you guys.
Already.
How about that?
That's Kerry Earnhardt in the 33 car, Robbie Gordon in 31.
And the cars start to roll out onto the racetrack, and after 28 of the 36 races in the Nextel Cup season, here are the 10 drivers in the chase for the championship, and it doesn't get much closer than this. Jeff Gordon going for his 5th championship with a 1-point lead over Kurt Busch. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 3rd in the chase. Johnson and Martin in a virtual tie in points. There was a end-of-season tiebreaker not in effect here. Then it's Elliott Sadler, Matt Kenseth, Dover winner Ryan Newman, and then Tony Stewart and Jeremy Mayfield have some work to do here Sunday. They want to get some points and stay out of trouble.
Okay, happiness about to begin as Brendan Gaughan in 77, Scott Riggs in 10. That's Bobby Hamilton Jr. in 32. So talked about Mark Martin, Jeff Green in 43.
So they put a certain amount of fuel in that 6 car, and then they see how far he goes basically before he runs out. And he doesn't want to be in the front of the pack when that happens.
Exactly.
Or you don't want to be right about here when you run out of gas either.
During the race.
Yeah, normally that's what happens is you run out of gas just when you get past pit entrance.
Matt, what do you got?
Well, Wally, that was a concern by some drivers in the first session today as some teams were on a fuel mileage run, and when they ran out of gas, that almost caused a semi-big one on the backstretch. Some guys having to kind of make ulterior moves there. But Michael Waltrip, who's just getting ready to roll out, they're on a fuel mileage run as well. Slugger Labby told me they're going to run this out of gas, so they have an exact fuel mileage reading for tomorrow, somewhere between 38 and 40 laps. Slugger also told me they put a lot of emphasis on this race. They haven't won in almost a year. And 1-year anniversary this weekend.
When you say exact, you're right. They have to be exact because they have to know when that car is going to run out of fuel. Because if you miss the pit entrance and you run out of fuel, you've basically taken yourself out of this race.
And, at most racetracks, the fuel cell, the gas tank is 22 gallons. Here it's only around 14 gallons, so you can only run 60% as far.
And tomorrow,
although the cars do get better fuel mileage, but they can run maybe 35 laps instead of 50 or 60.
and tomorrow, your first fuel run will be your most conservative one. So you'll have a good idea of what to do for the rest of the race. On board there with Mark Martin, looking back at the pack. You probably want to be in a little more traffic to get that real accurate fuel mileage.
Yeah.
Or if be fast enough to drive away from him.
I think that's what he's trying to do right now. It looks like he's got a pretty good car. He popped out a line there and got to the front, and those guys aren't catching him that are drafting behind him right now.
That 6 team is giving him some good equipment, aren't they?
Last couple of months they really have. Started about the 1st of May.
Marty.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mark Martin's car. He's the first Roush car ever to run a roof hatch. They're running it this weekend, and Mark, obviously being of small size, doesn't really need to get out, but they thought, the fast cars that are running here at Daytona and Talladega seem to have a roof hatch. Let's see if it helps us any at all. I just asked Pat Tryson, any difference? He said, obviously not. They feel like they're a little slower than some of the faster cars here, but the first Roush car ever to run a roof hatch here this weekend in the 6 car.
Oh, man.
Oh, look out.
That looks close from here. Guess what? It's close down there, too.
Scott Riggs, a 10 car, and Tony Stewart hook up together and go blowing by the 6. Car on the inside of the star is Jamie McMurray, a new look to his vehicle this weekend.
It's actually a throwback look, isn't it?
Yes.
Go back to the days when Davey Allison, the late Davey Allison, used to drive that car. Of course, here in Alabama, home of the Alabama gang. Davey, a member of that. famous racing fraternity.
Now this is what it's going to look like tomorrow for 188 laps.
You throw in about 20 more cars, and that's what you got, right?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Yeah, you'll have them stacked up 3 deep in places, and like I said earlier, you're trying around, you ride around different cars. If you've got a Dodge, you want to ride behind the Chevrolet and see how your car reacts, because it's going to react. Even these cars look alike, but their bodies have these little differences, and it'll make your car react a little bit different in the draft.
Everybody would like to be out there, but there are about 15 cars lined up on pit road right now. NASCAR is holding because they don't want that huge pack out there, just in case the big one would occur a day early. There you see those guys desperate to get out on the track, led by Junior in the 8.
NASCAR
so
trying to protect them from themselves.
Exactly right, just like their parents. Mark Martin in front of that pack. Back to Talladega on speed after this. Nextel Cup final practice at the Talladega Super Speedway in Alabama, getting ready for 500 miles here on Sunday. And to get ready for that, tune into Speed News Saturday tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on Speed. The Speed Channel is your home for every Nextel Cup qualifying session and every happy hour all the way through the season finale at Homestead.
Now this is beginning to look more like a race at Talladega.
Yes, sir.
Got about 15, 20 cars, 3 wide, single file.
There's only one thing missing from that pack.
What's that?
The 8 car.
Oh, he'll be there in a minute.
Okay, because he just got released off of pit road.
Whoa. Vickers in the 25 car, swinging wide around Ricky Rudd, the 21. And that's, you got a lot of room on the backstretch to do that. You just have to, it tightens up a lot in
a hurry, doesn't it? And you breathe that throttle just for an instant. And it's not like you're going slower, but the other guys are just going so much faster.
Yeah, and when you say breathe, I mean you're taking your foot off the throttle. You're just maybe a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch at the most. You're not getting all the way out of gas, but it's very apparent when that happens. You can see when a guy has to crack the throttle a little bit, 1 or 2 guys will shoot right by.
And he seems to pay the consequences for the next mile as he tries to build back up to speed.
On board with the 12 car. There's Ryan Newman's machine, following his teammate Rusty Wallace. Ryan off the win at Dover last Sunday.
You can see how bumpy it is in the corners here at Talladega, how much these cars are moving around.
189 miles per hour.
You watch that
90.
green light on the throttle. It shouldn't change. Unless he has to get out of it like he's right up on Rusty. Now, most of the time, if you get a really good run on a guy like that, you'll just hit the brake a little bit. You'll just drag the brake a little bit to slow you down.
With which foot?
With your left foot.
Okay.
You never want to get off the throttle if you don't have to.
And we talked about these cars doing fuel runs. And
that was bouncing off the wall, or almost.
Now the yellow line down there during the race tomorrow will be out of bounds as those cars are going towards pit area. But see, if you run out of fuel out there, you run out of fuel and you're in the front of these cars. And that's what happened in the first session. Jimmy Johnson, coming off turn 2, appeared to run out of fuel and jammed up about 10 cars behind him. And luckily, no crashes.
And you're looking at Rusty Wallace's car, and hopefully you can see the guy waving if he's getting close to pit or he has trouble. But it's getting harder and harder now to see inside these cars because of all the braces and different bars, and there's so much more inside these race cars, as you can see. And you look at like Mark Martin there, he even has the shoulder piece there. It's hard to get your arm up and wave. He can put his hand up, but he can't get it really high. So it's really, really tough to see. He also has black gloves, which makes it difficult to see when you're waving.
You used to be able to even look through the car in front of you.
Absolutely.
Didn't you? To try and see 2 or 3 cars ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always would wear white gloves when I came to a super speedway race, just so the guys behind me, it'd be easier for them to see that glove if I needed to signal to the driver behind me.
Now you just save the white gloves for formal occasions.
Exactly.
Like dinner last night. Okay.
Yeah.
And Mark is still able to stay out in front of this field of cars.
He's got to be pretty happy with that race car. I can't see Mark staying out there
No.
much longer, because normally he's one of those guys, when he's got a good race car in the super speedway, he parks it.
This is not his favorite form of racing. Somewhere in that pack there's the 8 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside, right in front of Ricky Rudd.
Ooh, see now here, 4 breaths going in there, because see how that guy, I don't know who that was, had to snap up there real quick. Really, really scary. Was that Rusty?
See, someone bought him out. Looks like Mike Wallace bought him out coming off turn 4.
That's Kenny Wallace in the middle there, the 97 of Kurt Busch.
Kenny Wallace in the 1.
Right. Driving a DEI entry here.
We've seen a lot of that this week. Kenny Wallace with a DEI engineering car. Hermie Sadler with a Robert Yates car.
Well, it's all about equipment here, especially when you're qualifying. You know, a driver does one thing, and that's just stand on it all the way around, and it's not very difficult to do here in qualifying. Now, you get a pack of 42 cars around you, and these cars are very difficult to drive, but good equipment means a lot in a place like Talladega.
Kasey Kahne drives the 9 car. The rookie still looking for his first win of the season. More on that team from Matt.
Crew Chief Tom Baldwin Jr. on top of the transporter. Now, Tommy, it must almost be like a helpless feeling hearing Casey's brother, Cale, sound more like an air traffic controller. What about today's final practice, the Dodge keys to success?
I mean, the biggest key, you know, to the Dodge deal here today is stay out of a wreck today, so you don't have to pull out your backup car, because obviously your backup car is not as good as your primary is.
Which you had to do at Daytona.
Yeah, a couple of times in our life here, but you know, that's one. Next thing is to run it as long to figure out the best fuel mileage you can for tomorrow, because that's going to play an important role for tomorrow's race. And to get the car to handle as long in the run as you possibly can, you know, by him keeping his foot on the floor all the way around the track as many laps as he can.
And also, guys, remember, confidence plays a big factor tomorrow. And every lap he runs during this final practice session, more experience and more confidence for this young driver.
But you notice the first key to Tommy Baldwin's success: don't wreck the car in practice.
Right.
And that's why Kevin Harvick chose to stay in the garage here. That's the safest place to be.
And Kasey Kahne starts 23rd tomorrow.
Remember earlier when I was blowing? I think the 99 car did get into the wall up there in turn 2.
It's an all-white car up there.
Yep.
He just touched it. Carl Edwards.
And it looked like these guys may have had to check up. They checked up in front of him. He may have just went up high to avoid him. There it is.
Yep. And that's Carl Edwards, who got here for this practice session and the earlier one, and then we'll leave following final practice to drive in the Craftsman Truck Race in California this evening, then fly back for the race here at Talladega tomorrow. But happy hour may be ending a little early for the 99 bunch. Speed is live at Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama, and final practice continues in a moment.
Breathtaking final practice continues at Talladega. Cars about a pack of 30 out there heading down the backstretch right now. And back in the garage area, Jamie McMurray peacefully sitting after his practice crash earlier today. We didn't crash the car, he spun it out. They are very happy with the car right now. They're going to try one gear change. Car was a little bit tight, so they're going to try a gear change, trying to help that car out a little bit. I asked him about the crash earlier today. He said it was just people checking up, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He might have made a contact with another car, but very happy with the 42 car right now.
Thanks, Marty, and they continue to work on that car.
And when they change the gear ratio in these cars, the change that they make is so tiny.
Really?
You wonder why in the world would they go to all that trouble, but
Why in the world would they go to all that trouble?
exactly. Well, because Kurt Busch is talking about the car sucking up. If you turn too many RPMs and you get up to... Oh, caution flag is out.
Yeah, the 0-1 of Joe Nemechek, the pole sitter for tomorrow, smoking.
Oh, no.
He's also been the fastest in this practice session. He was 11th in the earlier session.
The car smoker, Joe wasn't.
Oh, man. But the car is also the pole sitter for tomorrow. If he has to change the engine, that means go back to 43rd.
Let's take a look at what they saw.
That is a lot of smoke.
Man.
That does look like it's coming from the
Sure
exhaust
does.
pipes, doesn't it?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Boy. Marty?
He just said on the radio, Nemechek, that it's actually brake smoke is what it is. And a lot of times they'll pry the brakes back. Sometimes the rotors can ride on the pad. So maybe that's what it is. We will check with Joe and get the definitive story in a moment.
He must have got some maybe rubber on the on the rotor, but that shouldn't be coming from the pads.
I mean, if he's sliding that right front tire like that, making pit stops tomorrow, he's in big trouble.
Yeah. But they don't look too concerned. We'll get the story when we come back to Talladega on Speed.
Cars have just taken back to the Talladega Super Speedway as final practice continues, and the guy that everybody's been chasing this season on the plate tracks at Daytona and Talladega, Jeff Gordon. Now, first off, how good is this race car, Jeff?
Well, it's a really good race car. I'm real happy with the speed. You know, just making some gear changes, just trying different things. We're very limited on what we can do right now with the car. And, you know, Talladega's not a real big handling racetrack, so just try to get it comfortable and, you know, figure out your fuel mileage and your gear ratios and go from there.
Now, one thing that you've been trying to figure out really all year is your mirror setup and trying to get a better vision with this race car. And I know Jay Lupo, is my cameraman dog, will take a look inside your race car. Now, Jay Lupo, one of your mechanics, has spent a lot of time with a unique setup this week. You've got 3 mirrors inside that cockpit.
Yeah, actually 4, but and we're probably going to add 1 more. So, you know, I know I keep Jay hopping because it's hard to adjust these mirrors in these cars and get them all right. But the ones inside the car are really good. The left side mirror, we're still trying to play around with it. It's a newer one that we just brought on this time, and it's vibrating quite a bit on me and just trying to get the angle just right. I do want to say one thing. John Smeltzer, our engine tuner, he's not going to be with us tomorrow. His brother passed away in a wreck out on the West Coast, and we just want to send our prayers out to him and his family and tell him how much we're going to miss him. He's here with us right now, but we're going to miss him tomorrow. He's a crucial part of this race team, and look forward to having him back.
Our thoughts and prayers also go out to John and his family. To Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, Carl Edwards picked up a Talladega stripe on the right side of the car. What happened to cause that, Carl?
Well, it's just running around there on the top, and I think the 77 car was in front of me, and he started to slow up a little bit, and I thought, I'll just move up a little bit, and he's off the gas, and I kind of caught the wall a little bit. But I promise that's as hard as I'm going to try. So don't worry, Mom. And this is a blast, though. I'm just so lucky that Jack Roush and the guys are doing this to let me drive this thing. And we don't have a sponsor yet, so we didn't scrape the sponsor's name off it. But
that's good.
Yeah, that's a good. I guess that's the only good thing about not having a sponsor. But I'm having fun, and tomorrow we'll just run around here and try to learn something from these guys.
Yeah, but more importantly, tonight he's got to get on an airplane and head to California to run the Truck Series race, Alan. Or Alan's not here, is he?
That's okay. That's not the last time that'll probably happen this week. And that's where Carl's headed. Fontana for NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Racing presented by Toyota. Live tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern Time here on Speed.
Well, you can say that again.
I don't think I can.
I wondered why all those Toyotas qualified up front. Now I know they're sponsoring the race.
There you go.
Carl Edwards will start 6th.
That's right. He's 3rd in the championship standings. Bobby Hamilton. That's tonight, 10 o'clock here on Speed. I'm shaking off a little rust here.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little, I'm running practice laps here, okay?
I can help you with some shooting, but I can't help you here.
Let's not go there.
Sterling Marlin, 40 car. Jimmy Spencer, 4. Jeff Green in 43. Spencer and the 40 car Sterling Marlin, they've been coming here for many years.
And we continue to hunt down the story on the 0-1, and we'll get that from the garage here shortly.
There's the 41 car, Casey Mears, a pink car.
It's a pink and white car, but it looks good.
The sponsor, Target, trying to bring awareness to breast cancer in the month of October. So I think every race will be using that pink paint job.
The crew was very concerned that they'd be wearing pink uniforms on Sunday, but that will not be the case. They'll be in the familiar Target red.
Tell you what, that car stands out. Looks good.
Yep. 40 cars have been on the track during this practice session. We talked about the 29 of Kevin Harvick, the 45 of Kyle Petty, and the 49 of Ken Schrader. The 3 cars not participating to this point in final practice. Mears breaks from 34th here on Sunday. Marty, you got more on that pink race car?
On the lovely pink race car, Bill. I do indeed. I spent some time with those guys before the session started. They're fairly happy with the chassis, but they, like many teams, have gone to the extra effort this week to reinforce the front and rear bumpers. You learned early in this new restrictor plate package that you needed to have a stronger rear bumper so people could push you, and as strong as a front bumper as you could have so you could push people to the front here at Talladega. Matt?
And Ryan Pemberton talking to crew members here. Now, Ryan, the concern about the smoke, what was it?
You guys concerned me. My goodness, all your reports on TV say we blew up and all that stuff. No, Joe was just practicing getting down pit road. He got down pit road pretty hot right there and locked the tires up a little bit. But no, we're just practicing. You'll see a lot of that tomorrow, and just trying to get a couple dry runs in there on it. Man, you guys scare me out there. I come across, everybody says on TV.
We know drama.
Well, that's it. You gotta spice it up a little bit. No, everything's fine. Car's running really well, and we ran about 15 laps right there. Car feels pretty good. Just we're gonna put another set of tires on there, practice pit road one more time, and get a plug check.
Has he run a lot with any particular driver?
No, they mix it up quite a bit out there. Probably in 15 laps, you've run at least a straightaway with everybody out there. They're mixing it up pretty good out there. We feel good about the car. We ran really well here last time, and this whole Army crew's done a great job. So we're just going to go practice pit road speed one more time, get a plug check, and call it a day.
And Weber, you can hear he's almost out of breath, and this is just final practice. Can't wait till tomorrow's 188 laps.
But we never said he blew up. We just said he was smoking.
What do we know anyway?
Right. We're just up watching. That's why we have the pit guys down there to find out, right?
That's right.
See Michael Waltrip, the 15 car, in the middle of the. I guess he's on the outside now. Thought he was in the middle row of 3 wide, but no, he's in the outside lane. Now he's going to be 3 wide. That car on the outside can come up. Couldn't make it. That was Jeff Green on the outside. Here's Elliott Sadler trying to close in on the back of Michael Waltrip. And there we see the throttle. Green, green, green.
Yep, it should stay green.
And RPM. We normally see over 9,000 RPMs. Not here where they use a restrictor plate to restrict the amount of air fuel going inside the engine. That's about all. 7,000 RPMs is all they can turn. That's the maximum they can fuel and air they're getting. They just can't turn any more RPMs because they don't have fuel and air to sustain that RPM.
And that's what makes the draft such a valuable tool here. Michael Waltrip is the defending champ of this race, but Elliott Sadler had his day in just a little bit too soon.
Makes contact with Kurt Busch in the 97 car, and that's the result.
And
it's
it gets
not over.
worse. Yeah. Wow, that is just amazing. All the safety equipment did its job. He walked out of that. A little dizzy, but he walked out.
Here he is back to try his luck again in the 38 car.
And in the middle of the chase for the Nextel Cup as well. He's had an outstanding season. Let's check back in the garage with Matt.
Now, when you're talking about the 0-1 of Joe Nemechek locking up that tire, this is the tire that came off. You can see, perfect example, when we talk about during our broadcast, flat spotting tires. You can see he is right down to the cords on this right front tire. Good example when they were talking about making their entrance to pit road, practicing their pit road speed and getting down to speed. When they flat spot and lock it up, that's exactly what they're talking about. Remember, some teams, depending on where the cautions fall tomorrow, may end up going no tires in their last stop. So when they make their way to pit road, very important not to lock up those tires so they don't have to go to a backup strategy.
That's exactly right, Matt. And there will be guys, we'll see it tomorrow, them coming in down a pit lane, they'll smoke that right front. And what you have to do, you have to put some more rear brake. You have to adjust your brakes and put more rear brake to the car so you don't lock your fronts up. But I'll tell you what, that really can ruin a strategy, because if you come in, like you said, you're going to just change, no tires, and you lock up that right front. It changes everything.
Final practice session for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series at Talladega Super Speedway in Alabama. You're watching live on Speed. Final practice for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series live from Talladega Super Speedway in Alabama. Cars getting ready for 500 miles here tomorrow, and some people think that might be how they'll be running tomorrow at the end with that 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. right up there near the front. Right behind him, the 20 of Tony Stewart. Matt Yoakum's been following this reaction from the garage. Matt?
Bill, they've been unofficial teammates for a long time. They carry the same philosophy around restrictor plate racing, and it just seems like about 3 years ago when they started working together in practice that they've worked together a lot, and they're working together this session. Dale Earnhardt Jr. very pleased with that race car. He's been out front, he's dropped to the back. Right now, he's just riding along to see how it feels to have different cars behind him. He's had the 19 behind him, the 20 now with Tony Stewart. He says the car just a tick on the tight side, but he is very pleased, Marty.
Matt Kurt Busch also pleased because he's done for the day. We talked about the gear change that Jimmy wanted to try. How'd that go over?
Not bad. We just tried 2 different gears, one in the first session, one in the second session, just check RPM and where it was in relationship to other cars on a drafting pass or when we were following. So just trying to get some RPM readings, and everything was pretty good.
Give us a preview of what we might see tomorrow. How was the draft today?
It was exciting, just as it always is, and there's going to be some bumpers that'll be wrinkled on the front side and the back. Just the cars seem to pull up to one another and run into one another pretty easily, and everybody just has to mind their P's and Q's to make sure that they look further than the car that's just in front of them. That's what I'd like to see more of. People understand that they can draft, that's fine, but you got to look further ahead to make sure that guy's not up against a good car.
Kurt has a good starting spot tomorrow, very confident with his race car. Bill?
Thank you, Marty. That was a little hairy right there.
Yeah, that was definitely hairy.
And you would think that the 8 spotter, Steve Meal, could say to him, clear, low, because all of a sudden he just turned left and down in front of the 20 car.
Tell you what, the spotters have a difficult job at a place like this, because that's why Jeff Gordon's got all those mirrors, because you know you want it, you can't rely 100% on your spotter. Whatever move you make in traffic, you're responsible. So the mirrors in the car are, and I just would think all those mirrors in there would be a distraction.
It really didn't help it turn any better. I mean, it's not too bad. I wanted to see watch real close to how it leads, okay? Right.
Okay, Junior says I'm in front now. Watch how the car reacts in front with the car behind me.
If they do get enough people back here to just get accordion going and get around second, third, just see if make sure I don't get pushed out too far. You know what I mean? Like the 10 seemed like it pushed it out too far. This one seems to be able to hold. You know, it gets pushed out, but it's still able to hold the speed.
And I'm assuming he's doing this, talking to him while he's going through the corner at speed.
Sounds fairly calm.
Yeah, he did sound calm. You can see he's only running 190 miles per hour.
You can do that when you're out front. If you can do that if you're 4th or 5th back in the middle.
The 11 car, that's Ricky Craven, now closing in behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. That is a Joe Gibbs entry, the 11 car is.
They plan to run that car a few races down the stretch here, try and get some points for next season. J.J. Yaley expected to make some appearances in the next Cup Series down the stretch here. 7 to go after this race on Sunday. When he was talking about getting too far out in front,
yeah,
you think he was worried about the draft going around him? Is that what he was talking about?
Yeah,
there?
if you get too out in front of these cars, the guys that are stacked up behind you will get a good run on you, and that's when they can make a pass pretty easy, because they pick up your draft and you're just a sitting duck if you're out front.
Marty back in the garage.
Yeah, the 48 team of Jimmy Johnson quit a little early today. How's the car, Chad Canals?
We're pretty pleased with the car right now. Obviously, we didn't get the Lowe Chevrolet qualified where we wanted it to, but it's a brand new race car. We're pretty happy with the qualifying effort that we had, and race trim is fine. He's real pleased with it, and it was getting pretty crazy out there, so we decided just to park it and get it ready to race.
Teammate work so critical here. You and the 24 have worked so well in the last, especially 2 restrictor plate races. Has that been one of the main keys to why you guys have been so good?
Yeah, you know, the other key is just simple fact that we pay a lot of attention to our super speedway program. Steve Berg, Kurt Romberg, all the guys that really take care of our super speedway development program at Hendrick, or for the 24-48, they've just done a great job. And, you know, Jimmy and Jeff, they like to work together, and hopefully we can do it again on Sunday.
Teammates are always important here at Talladega, aren't they, Wally?
Yes, they are. You have to have friends, and it's nice if you have a teammate that's a friend.
Now take a look at this. A moment ago, Joe Nemechek in the 0-1. We saw him smoking his tires coming to pit road last time. Well, this,
yeah, he's got to have
trying again.
And all that is too much front brake. He's got the balance is too much to the front.
But it's just the right front that's locking up.
Yeah, but I think when you're coming down into that pit lane, you're also coming in and you're kind of slightly turning to the left. And if you're slightly turning left, the car's rolling over on that right front. And that's where all the pressure is on that car.
I would imagine he might try that again before this practice session is over. And we'll take you all the way to the flags that in practice here at Talladega. Final practice for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, live from the Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. The participants beginning to dwindle here as guys take their cars back to the garage and begin preparations for Sunday's 500-mile race. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jamie McMurray, Bobby Hamilton Jr. among those out on the track now. Meanwhile, activity continues back in the garage area. Matt?
Bill, you can add Michael Waltrip's name to the list of guys who called it a day. So, how good is this race car, Michael?
I'm real happy with it. In the morning, in the first session, it just didn't drive right. It bounced around a little bit more. So, Slug and the boys went to work on it. We drove out there just then. I ran about 3 or 4 laps, and I told them, she's right. This is the way the Napa Chevy needs to feel. Just thank all of DEI. You know, we're here to win the race. We want to push Junior up there to the best finish he can get, and just to show you our commitment. We brought the one car out here because Kenny Wallace is a great drafter, and he can help us win this race as well. So Aaron's was good enough to put their name on the side of it, and DEI has 3 cars here, and we're planning on going out there and running 1, 2, 3 on tomorrow afternoon.
It's been a year since you popped out of the roof hatch winning here at Talladega, but you talked about the teamwork and also trying to get your car back into victory lane, but also help Junior win this title.
That's exactly right, and I'm going to be there for him. I'm going to push him. He's starting ahead of me, and I don't know how I'm ever going to get past him because I'm not going to drive around him. I'm going to dedicate myself to him. I'm sure Kenny will do the same thing, and together we'll force those other guys to figure out which way to go when we get headed their way. Our cars are really fast. I've been popping out of the hatch mad at the shop. It felt so good back last October. I do it every now and then just to relive it. Been a long time since we won, obviously, and this is the place where we can get it done.
Does the team cue you for that, or do you just do that on your own?
I'll come in there while they're gone to lunch and do it some. They'll sneak in a little bit early sometimes and catch me, but what a great feeling. We had that roof hatch here a year ago, and it was the first time anybody had run one, and I said, boy, if I win, I can't wait. I'm going to get to pop out the top. I'll be darned. We didn't win. Had to survive a restart with 2 or 3 to go with a red flag, and held off a great bunch of guys and got us another win. So hopefully we can do the same thing tomorrow.
Jeff Gordon's won 2 in a row. Do you feel like the Hendrick guys have caught up to the dominance the DEI guys have had, Michael?
I think Dale Jr. and I taught everybody a lesson. We dedicated ourselves to one another there for a while, and there just wasn't any beating us when we did that. Now you see all the teammates and all the guys that have ties to other teams doing the same thing. So their cars have been within reason of ours. They just started to employ the same strategy that Junior and I have, and I think that's closed the gap. But I wouldn't swap my DEI power in this car that these boys prepared for me for anyone's. I think at Daytona we led a bunch of laps, and I just got real tight at the end and couldn't help my partner. He was up there battling Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon by himself. I think if my car's up there, the outcome's different. Here our car's working great, and we'll be there all day long, and we'll see if we can't say something about DEI still being on top of their game.
Bill, he's practiced and practiced and practiced jumping out of the roof again. He hopes that he can do it again for real in victory lane tomorrow afternoon.
And Matt, these numbers just really say it all about how delightful it has been to be driving for DEI.
And that's, you know, what I was saying earlier is the rest of the competitors out there know that. And they have to get in between these 2 guys, because when they hook up, they are going to be tough to beat, and you got to keep them separated if you're the competitors.
But at some point at that race, if that 8 or that 15 goes by you, you're going to try and hook on because you know where he's going.
There's no question about it, but I think the other competitors have done well on trying to keep them separated the last couple of triple play races. Because if you don't, that's what you're going to do. You're racing for 3rd. Yeah, you can hook on and race for 3rd, but you're not going to beat them.
So do you do the same thing with the 24 and the 48 now? Do you try and keep them separate too on the racetrack?
If they're dominant, I think you have to if you get a shot to win. But like I said, it just depends on how good your car is and how many guys or teammates are working with you.
I was talking to a driver there this morning down in the garage area, and we talked about what you do here to get a good finish. And what you do to get a good finish is forget about trying to win. So that's what he said. Unfortunately, 85% of the guys think they got a car good enough to win here, so they go out and they forget about strategy and everything else. At the end of the race, I'll be in the top 5, top 10, and most of those guys will be 25th.
All right, let's find out how driver 2 thinks things are going to go tomorrow.
Well, let's ask him, Bill. How's the car?
It's great. It feels real good. It's drafting great. We didn't post a big number because when we went out there, as I pulled out, I actually lost the draft. I didn't get accelerating quick enough, so we waited for them. They came back and hooked up and went. But I'm real happy with it. Tire temps look great. We've got good plug checks. I've got 2 plug checks. We ran it out of fuel, so we know exactly how much fuel it holds. So my day's done right now.
And I noticed when you came in, you immediately wanted to start working on the mirrors. It's so critical to see everything around you anymore, isn't it, Rusty?
Yeah, you're right. These little wink mirrors on the left-hand side, they're pretty important, and I've never ran one before, to tell you the truth, so I'll work on that a little bit. But I got my mirrors all adjusted good, but I mean, these guys are just all over you out there. You're just like ants, you know, and just, you know, you just want to swat them away, man. But just looking around, and you got a guy on the inside, guy on the outside, guy behind you, and you just can't see everything. You need a spotter and all the mirrors you can get.
Rusty's going to need a lot of mirrors because he's planning on putting people behind him, starting 33rd tomorrow, going to the front, as he told me.
You know, but Wally brought up an awfully good point. I don't know how you look in all those mirrors, how you aren't distracted by the different visions you see from all those mirrors like Jeff Gordon had in his car.
Yeah, because you're seeing all different colors and different movements and everything in all those mirrors. That's just that's tough.
It is tough, but obviously maybe Jeff Gordon has used it enough that he's able to do it. Matt?
BP, the biggest reason why Jay Lupo has added a couple more mirrors to the cockpit of that 24 car. Jeff just feels like he cannot see cars behind him. When they start to peek out and then get a run, at that point it's too late. He wants to be able to anticipate more other drivers' moves, so then that way, if he wants to float up, he can float up and get into another line instead of having to be choppy, which then, again, may end up causing a big one.
Well, and basically what you're doing is you're mirror driving. So, you know what I mean? And that's what you have to do on these big racetracks on the Trictor Plate. You have to be defensive, and that's when you use your mirrors a lot.
And it's not like your passenger car. You can't reach up there and adjust it while you're driving. Once it's in place, it better be pointing in the right direction.
And that's why Rusty's working now on his mirrors so that they are, in fact, ready tomorrow.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. just took the red and black flags. Final practice has ended at Talladega. The next time these cars start, 500 miles will be lying in front of them. Final practice has ended for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series here at Talladega. Tomorrow, 500 miles, 188 laps on this 2.66 mile track. Now it's all up to the crew chiefs and the dedicated crew guys in the garage to get those cars prepared. Matt?
Bill, a lot of practice during this final practice session concerning entry into pit road. Now, Joe, which set of tires do we want to talk about first? Because you've got flat spots on 2 different sets.
Well, the last set I borrowed from Scott Riggs, so I said he can have those back for the race. But the right front's it's kind of triangle shaped, or it's got sides on it now, I should say. Just you're trying to get your brake bias set right, and I slid them just a little bit, but at least there's a lot of slide marks all the way around. That's called manual anti-lock right there, pulsating the pedal.
What about hydration for tomorrow? Very warm today inside that car.
It's definitely hot. So I was just commenting to Ryan, the inside of the car just seems like it's extremely hot and a lot of sweat, but we'll make her cooler.
He'll start from the pole, chasing his first Talladega victory, Marty.
Matt, if there's one man who knows about restrictor plate racing, it's Sterling Marlin with 20 top 5 finishes in plate races, and pretty intense it looked like out there. How was it behind the wheel?
It's typical Talladega. It's just going to multiply tomorrow once we all get out there and get going. But Coors Light Dodge is pretty good. I think was 12th quickest in practice and didn't qualify real good, but the car really sucks up and drives good. So we'll give it our best shot and see what happens.
Wally, I found one man who agrees with you. Sterling runs one mirror on the left. He said he doesn't even look at that one. He uses the rear view mirror.
That's just to make the crew happy.
That's exactly right.
Well, take a look at the front 5 rows for tomorrow's running here at Talladega. Front row Joe on the pole with Ricky Rudd outside the front row.
You see Jarrett and Scott Riggs, teammate of Nemechek, start with 4th. And see the Nextel, that indicates the fellas that are in the chase for the Nextel Cup. 10 of those you'll find that's scattered throughout the field.
There's a good mix of different guys up there that normally aren't up front.
Hermie Sadler, the 02 car, Yates car.
Tony Stewart will come from row 15 tomorrow. But as they say at Talladega, you can start just about anywhere and get yourself to the front.
It'll be interesting to see if any of these guys drop back and try to stay out of the big wreck.
Well, there'll be about 143,000 fans here tomorrow for 500 miles of racing at Talladega. You'll see it live on NBC. Final preparations go on throughout the day and tomorrow morning. So long from Talladega.